If you win the war, but lose your most prized possession, is that considered a victory? Nuri Shabaka, Ursa Ma'at. And knowledge is infinite. Therefore, evolution is inevitable. Peace.
Welcome to Paradigm Shift TV314, where today nobody from the Trust and Believe the Gospel YouTube channel will be hosting part 2 of the takeover, because just like last time, I still have questions, and we want to kind of finish up on some of the topics that we was talking about, and if we don't finish up, then we may just have to do a part 3, but we'll see. Brother Piankhi.
Yes, sir.
You remember last time when it came to the questionnaire part, we was kind of talking about, what is it about African spirituality that you didn't find in Christ? And, we was also talking about what had happened that made you walk away from Christianity, right? Well, touching on those two subjects similarly, I'm going to ask another question as well that kind of ties into that, but it's like a segue as well. So before we get into that, of course, I would like you to give your spiel and reintroduce yourself to your Paradigm Shift audience, bro. Floor is yours.
All right. Well, my name is Piankhi Patamatulu Nefer Ramon Ra, Saber initiate at the Temple of Heru here in St. Louis, Missouri. And before we get into this, I want to say Hotep to all my fellow Kemetic brothers and sisters. Shalom to my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters. I want to say Islam to my Moorish brothers and sisters. I want to say God bless to my Christian brothers and sisters. And I want to say Jambo to the rest of my brothers and sisters throughout the African diaspora, be it here in the hills of North America or beyond. I say that welcome for one reason and one reason only, is because if you are Black, I'm with you, and I hope that you are with me. Our different ideologies aside, we can disagree without being disrespectfully disagreeable, but as long as we Black, we have a reason to unite. And with that, let's get it on.
Let's get it on. As I was saying, last time we kind of left off on question part 2, and we talked about what made you walk away from Christianity. So right now, I want to ask you, after you walked away from Christianity, what led you to Kemetic spirituality?
Well, to be honest, like I said, as a child, I always had like a curiosity about different myths, be it Greek, Roman, which is pretty much the same thing, Norse mythology, etc. What I hadn't delved into a lot was the African myths, be it Zulu, the Yoruba tradition, Ifa, Vodun, or the Kemetic tradition. The one that I did have the most insight into was the Kemetic tradition, or, as I called it then, the Egyptian mythology. And so as I'm getting this new knowledge on Africa, on spirituality from Africa, I was automatically drawn, to Kemetic spirituality just based on the things that I had known about it. So, I knew about Osiris, who, of course, I would find out the African term, or the Kemetic term, was Asar. I knew about Isis, which we know as Aset, Horus, which we know as Haru, or Set, which we know as Sutet. And so I always try to make sure I call them by their proper name. But I knew about these, as I dubbed them then, characters, what I would call them now, principles. And I knew it, so I'm like, man, so wait a minute, these are African concepts, and these are African stories, etc. And so, you know, based on that fascination I had with it in my youth, as I'm exploring these different spiritual traditions, that was the one that sort of that I was drawn to, and not so much because I was looking for another religion, just from a knowledge standpoint, just from a concept standpoint, how these people, you know, saw things in their day-to-day life, studying the history, studying the culture. I'm a history major, so I always had a love and a fascination with history. My minor was religion, or world religions, I should say. And so the first religion that you learn about is what they do, the Egyptian religion. And so just seeing it with an African lens was just fascinating for me. And so that's what kind of pulled me into that particular spiritual tradition and piqued my curiosity as opposed to settling on one of the others.
Okay. There's a lot of people that say.
Wait 1 second, bro. 1 second.
Okay. You know how there are a lot of people who say and believe that the people in Kemet believed in many gods, not like concepts, but like actual like figures of God. So I wanted to ask you, do you believe in polytheism?
No, sir, not at all. Once you start getting into the Kemetic tradition, what we find is that the ancient people of Kemet, and then by extension us, having been, because I always say this too. Let me preface my statement with this. For me, and this is just my personal outlook, I believe that the people who follow or study Kemet, however you want to categorize it, break down in 3 different categories. You have your practitioners, where this is basically how they live their life day to day. You have they are priests, they are initiates, etc. Right? And then you have people like me who are students of Kemetic spirituality. I study the culture, the history, and the spiritual tradition of ancient Kemet. And I apply it, you know, where I can and where I see fit. And then you have people who sort of follow it sparingly, and I call them sort of novice, if that makes sense. But one thing that I think when you start studying the ancient people of Kemet in depthly, and you're looking at it from an African lens, what you find is they believe that there was one being in existence, period. Now, is that exactly monotheism? I'm not gonna say that.
A lot of people would call that New Age. But go ahead.
Is it polytheism? I'm not gonna say that either. But however, when you get into like their creation story, and they talk about how the Neter Amun created himself out of himself, and a lot of people like to say out of itself, and then expanded itself in everything, and the reason being it wanted to get to know itself, so to speak, be it a blade of grass, be it the wind that blows, be it the tree. We are all this one divine being having an experience as that tree, as this human, as that blade of grass, etc. And so when you really start getting into the language, when you start really getting into how they express these different concepts, that's an easy assertion to come to. I submit that the reason people believe that these people believe in polytheism in terms of how, let's say, the Greeks did or the Norsemen did with, Odin and Thor, or Greece with Zeus and Hercules and Ares, etc. The reason people believe that is because we have to remember that Greece did have the final say, unfortunately, in Kemet. We know the conquest of Alexander the Greek. He died. His general Ptolemy, a lot of people like to say Ptolemy, but the P is actually silent. Ptolemy takes over, and they ruled for, I believe, over 300 years. That Greek lens, it was easy for these people to look at it like, okay, these aren't principles or expressions of one being having these experiences as this particular aspect. This is kind of like we look at our pantheons. And so because they had the final say, that was the assertion sort of going forward. Now, again, that's my submission. I'm not going to sit here and try to say that that's the correct assertion. I'm not going to argue with somebody who have a different outlook. That's my assertion based on the knowledge that I've collected about this particular topic. So,
okay, on that same thing. I'm glad you said that that's their opinion, and you can be wrong or right, or even willing to be corrected. So I would want to ask, how do you feel about people who would say the people of today who teach that the people in Kemet didn't believe in like physical, literal gods, or believe in like concepts? How do you feel about people who say that those are New Age teachings and not actually what they believed in the ancient times?
I would say study the tradition. Like,
again?
I would tell them to study the tradition. Like come and sit in the class with myself or with my teacher. And if you come out of that class or out of that 8-week course or 8-week lesson, one of those lessons, I wouldn't say take one, but I would say take an entire course. And if you still feel that way after that, then that's how you feel, and you're entitled to how you feel.
Right.
But I think once you actually study the history of this culture and of these people, you get into the beginnings, stages of the language, and how they express their spirituality. If you still feel that way, you're entitled to your opinion.
Okay. I was going to ask you because I meet or have met or have seen videos of people who are into Egyptology or into Kemetic spirituality, and they would say those things as well. I'm saying that they would say things like, for people who teach it as a concept, that they're teaching New Age, the actual ancient Kemetic spirituality that they follow and been studying teaches that those were literal gods. So I was just asking the question because I hear it from both sides. I'm not really just talking about people who don't really study. You know how we got like people who don't know the Bible but they claim, just like we have people who don't know Kemetic spirituality. I'm not really talking about those. I was just saying even from people who studied the Kemetic spirituality and would say the opposite of that too. But you gave your answer to it. I was just want to clear that up as well. Okay, on the another question I want to ask you. This is not really a biblical question. This would more be a question for like an atheist or a agnostic who don't believe in God at all, or who lacks a belief in God or isn't convinced there is a God. But if I'm not mistaken, since you do believe there is a higher power, I still want to ask you this same question, even though you don't fall under that category. I want to ask you, since you don't believe in the God of the Bible, which I said at first is not a God of the Bible type of question, it's really a question for anybody who just don't believe in God, period. But what do you feel like your basis of morality come from if it's outside of the Bible, if I could say?
Well, for me, I would go. I would come from two different categories. First, from a non-spiritual side, I would just say I think everybody has a sense of right and wrong. Like you just don't do harm to other people, period. Like I know inherently not to molest a child or not to murder a child, not to rape a woman, not to kill another person unless they trying to do harm to myself or my family. I think that's just something that we know inherently as people. I don't think that you have to have a religious belief to know that. Excuse me. I don't think that that's something that like a person that's raised an atheist versus a person that's raised in a spiritual tradition. I don't think that they have a different outlook on hurting people with regards to it being wrong, right? But from a spiritual tradition sense, we have the 7 principles of mind. We have the 42 negative confessions of mind, and my basically standing for truth, justice, and reciprocity. And so from that, I can pull from that if I just had to have a basis for it. But I think as human beings, we just inherently don't want to hurt other people. Like we know that that's wrong to do. Same thing with other, like I said, rape, murder, abuse, child abuse, etc. You know these things are wrong. I don't think you have to have a particular spiritual connotation to know that. It's more of an instinct, I think.
Right. And that's why I was saying at first, that question would be more for a person who don't believe, as in just say a creator versus a person who don't believe in a creator at all. And the reason why I say that is because, of course, I kind of already knew your answer to that question, with you being spiritual. So anybody who's spiritual will, of course, somehow believe in a higher power or a creator. Let's just say a creator. So we would all agree that when it comes to morality, not why we believe it, but where does it come from, we would all agree that morality came from who or whatever created this whole thing. So that's why I was saying at the beginning, that would be more of a question for an atheist, because, atheists or people who don't believe in God would like to say, like, oh, we get our morality from society or the people that we're around. Well, they can't be totally true, because we can look at people like, let's say, Hitler. He believed that what he did was okay. He didn't feel like it was immoral. And the people that followed his dogma or the stuff that he was saying, they didn't feel like it was immoral either. So we can't totally draw our morality from a culture based off what that culture is. We would have to draw it from whoever the creator being, regardless of what spiritual system or belief that you come from. So that's why, that's why I asked that question in the way that I had asked. If that makes sense to you.
No doubt.
Mm-hmm. Okay. One question that I had for you as well, pertaining to the subject when we was talking about you leaving Christianity and the reasons why you felt the way you felt when you had left. You remember last time we was speaking about like pain and hurt or prayer. We're speaking about prayer. Remember that?
Right.
Yeah, and we was talking about, you was asking me if God had free will and if we have free will, and you was also asking me that if God knew the future, then he couldn't divert from whatever the future was with him already knowing what it was.
Exactly.
You remember asking me that? Okay.
Right.
I was listening to that off the last video that we had did, and I kind of wanted to address that as well. I wanted to say that, yes, God does know the future, but him being the person who set things in the future, just say like things that are not already planned. Like, for example, the prophecies that we have in the Bible and stuff like that, those things are already set. But let's say things that are in the future that we don't know, that only he know of. Well, he can divert from any of those future things because he is the one who would be setting those things up. And until he lay out a certain plan and say, well, this is going to happen like this or this is going to happen like that, as in like prophecy and things like that, then yeah, he would have to abide by whatever standard he set for what time. But when it comes for the future that's not foreseeable, as in him just, you know, if you kind of get what I'm saying, right? With like him coming up with it as it go, he can divert from whichever way he wants to because it's not set yet. Does that make sense to you?
Okay, I got you.
And based off of that, I want to know how you feel about that answer.
No, I think that makes sense. And I wouldn't, I guess I wouldn't go too far in trying to, and trying to fight against that particular answer. I think that we can. What's the best way for me to say this? we can stretch or extend or we tend to, when it comes to the Bible and the God thereof, we seem to be able to make it fit any scenario we needed to. It's almost like I write short stories, right? And I'm a big comic book geek, and they have this concept called plot armor. So characters like Batman have plot armor because they say Batman he can defeat any enemy if he had prep time. So as indestructible as the Hulk is, if Batman go against him, we know Batman can beat him because he had prep time, right? And to me, that's the God of the Bible. He always got prep time. So
I can understand that because I teach against false teachers and things like that, and there's also a concept known as the God of the Gap theory, where the Bible don't speak on certain things. So no matter what you put in there would be your opinion. I think I said that. I think I said that the first time on your show when I was dealing with Cameron Metu.
Right.
They was asking me a certain question, and I was telling them I could give them a reasonable, logical answer, but they're not going to find it in the Bible. And anybody who would give them an answer to this question would just be off of our opinion, because there are certain things in the Bible that the Bible just don't speak on about God. So I'm never gonna come and give an answer that's not biblical. And if I do give a God of the Gap type of answer, I would most likely up front let it be known that this is my opinion or a God of the Gap theory type of answer. But the reason why I wanted to come back and address that question the way I addressed it is because there are instances in the Bible where we see a situation may be about to lead a certain way, and then a person would ask God a certain question or pray for a certain thing, and then God would go left. I'm probably using going left for lack of a better term, and the reason why I'm saying that is because it wasn't set, and it wasn't set in the first place. It just seemed like it was going in that direction. You know what I'm saying? But then when it came down for that to happen, it didn't go that way. If I can give an example, Isaac, when God told Isaac to take his son up to the altar so he could sacrifice him. Remember that story? When he got up to the mountain,
when he told Abraham.
Abraham to go sacrifice Isaac, right? You remember when he got up to the mountain, he actually didn't sacrifice his son. He actually had a ram in the bush for him. You see what I'm saying? So even though it seemed as if God was telling him to make a sacrifice, to make his son the sacrifice, God was really just telling him to make a sacrifice. So in reading the story, we was all going along with, Abraham finna actually kill his son. You get what I'm saying? But then it took another turn, if you get what I'm saying. So in using that story, which is others in there, that's where I got that concept from. So it wasn't like I was just drawing it out of thin air. You get what I'm saying?
Okay. Okay.
Right. Yeah, so yeah, that was just something that had stood out to me in the last video because me and my wife had watched it together or whatever. And, some of the stuff that you were saying, I was just trying to keep up with the dialogue as well, so I wasn't really in deep thought or it wasn't like I had notes right here to actually, to refer to it as well. So I just want to clear that up on my own end.
Yeah, and for me, I definitely can respect that. And the one thing I will say about you, like you said, you keep it biblical. So let me ask you this real quick. And this is one of those philosophical questions that I'm sure you've been asked this before, and I can't wait to hear your answer. Because one of the only people who I think answered this adequately that I've dialogued with was our brother, the conscious Christian, Jerome Green. So I just want to see what your answer is. So, can the God of the Bible, because we agree that he's omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent, correct?
Right.
Meaning he's all powerful, he's all knowing, and he's everywhere at the same time.
Right.
Can God, knowing what we know about him, can God create a rock that he himself can't live? Exactly. That's one of my favorites. Let me mute my mic right quick.
Okay. I've heard a lot of theologians answer this question, and I don't want to use none of their answers. So I'm gonna just give my answer to the question. Can God create a rock that he can't lift? God can do anything. So if he chose to create a rock that he couldn't lift, he could do it. But at the same time, he couldn't create a rock that he couldn't lift because God can do all things. So it's kind of like an oxymoronic question. And there will be no way to answer the question without making it seem like a contradiction, if that makes sense to you. So it's really from my perspective, I would say it's a yes and a no. Since God is all powerful, he can do whatever. Yes, he can create a rock that he couldn't lift, but it wouldn't make sense for him to create a rock that he couldn't lift because he's all powerful and can do it. Like I said, each answer I give will be oxymoronic to the other one, if that makes sense to you.
No doubt. I like your answer too. Like our brother, the conscious Christian, simply said, I don't think that's something that's in line with God's will.
Yeah. Right.
It wouldn't really nothing else I could say after that. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I done heard theologians answer it way better than how I've answered it. And I could have just regurgitated what they said, but rather than doing that, like I would rather just give a plain and simple answer. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I could say it's not his will, but then somebody could be like, well, what if it became his will? You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. So it ain't even no point in leaving no room for that. Under the way I see it. So I would just have to give both answers. Yes, he can, and no, he can't. You know what I'm saying? So,
exactly. No, I respect that 100%. 100%. Because to me, it's really a gotcha question. You know what I mean?
It is.
Or at least an attempt at it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean, because you'll be picking at straws all day. You know, it's kind of like saying, who created God? God. And then who made God? God. And then who made God? God. Like, you just gonna keep going. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it ain't gonna never stop. You know?
No doubt.
But I've heard. It's funny you asked that too, because probably a few days ago, I don't even know where they came from. They had dropped into my spirit about being asked about that question. I didn't know where it was gonna come from, but then here we are today, and you asked, like,
came from your brother. There it is.
Like, that's not the first. I think on the last show or the show before that, I mean, you was talking about something, and I was like, bro, I was just dealing with that a day or two ago. Or so. I don't know. It be coming up. Like,
steel sharpening steel, man.
Huh? Say it again.
I say steel sharpening steel.
Yeah. Well, iron sharpens iron. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. That biblical term. I'm pretty sure it's the African proverb too, because that's not unique to the Bible.
No doubt.
Yeah. And I also try to express that to certain people too. Like when it comes to like the book of Proverbs or like Song of Songs, those are just ancient thoughts. You remember last time when we was talking, and I was telling you, the Bible is the word of God, but not every word in the Bible is of God. Well, it's from God, and that's what I meant by that. Like Proverbs, Song of Songs, and things like that. That's not God speaking. Those are, thoughts, proverbs, songs. You know what I'm saying? And even when you read some of those introductions, it'll tell you like this is for the choir, or this is for the hymn, or this is for that. You know what I'm saying? And that's another reason why I explained that way too when we were talking about that day. Because everybody knows the words in red is what God said, and then everybody knows that when you're reading a certain book from a certain person in the Bible, they'll say what God said, or God told me to tell you. But then you also have conversations where, another person talking to another person, and God ain't nowhere in there. That's just two people having a conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I'm gonna say this too. At the Temple of Heru, I want to keep it clear that we don't have any negative feelings towards the church or towards Islam or that sort, because we understand that that's where most of our people coming from anyway. And a lot of our family members are still ensconced in those traditions, right? The difficulty comes in getting those family members to understand where we coming from. See, we understand where they coming from because we've been there. It's just difficult for them to understand where we coming from because of the negative connotations towards African concepts. And that's why I feel like it's actually a concerted effort to make African spiritual concepts look bad to African people, whether it's Vodun or what we've been told to call voodoo, whether it's the Yoruba tradition, Ifa, Zulu, you name it. We've been taught to have a negative connotation towards these concepts. And so when somebody heard, "Oh, you into that African mess," or "You into that," you see what I'm saying? So and so it automatically creates a contentious conversation or a contentious dialogue.
And
I
that's
think
unique.
though that it also becomes contentious because what we have is when people come out of a particular religious belief, there's a sort of almost like an anger, like you've been duped. When I first came out of Christianity, it was man, I've been believing this all this time, and now I don't want to disrespect anybody by saying it's false. I'm saying I believe it's false, and so I'm like, I believe it's false, but I was believing it all this time, and I was doing this and I was doing that, and so it is a sense of anger and a sense of I wanna tell everybody, but then you quickly realize this is what people have based their life on, and so you have to you got to ease up on how you approach this thing, and it's not about proselytizing and disrespecting. It's just about everybody being able to coexist and respect each other where they at. And so that's kind of where I am with it. I'm always debate information. I debate Kemetic information with Kemetic people, with those who believe in Kemet. Like you mentioned, people who actually believe these weren't concepts, these weren't principles. Like, okay, so prove to me that it was a dude with a hawk head running around there. Prove to me that's what it was. Like, show me that. Show me that you talk to that cat. Like that. That's the kind of conversation I have with them, because you got to prove to me that, number one, they believed that was the actual thing that was happening. And then you got to show me that why you believe it. Okay, and even if you're saying that they believed it, why you believe it? So I have those discussions all the time. So it's not that. So I'm a debate information with everybody, but when it comes to respecting where everybody coming from at the end of the day, that's just what it's about, because people actually base their life on their spiritual beliefs, and that's what I had to come to the conclusion of, because I was, extra aggressive with, I don't. That's BS, or that's this and that's that, and then you wonder why everybody mad at you. That's
what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say. That's kind of unique to your shrine and what you're all doing now, because, like me, for example, when I look at Kemetic people, in which I told you that you were very unique, but when I look at Kemetic people, I'm looking to get back at them for the things that they've said about Christianity, rather than tear down what they believe. And even if it is something that I am willing to tear down about what they believe, it's only done out of what was said about Christianity and not vice versa. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So when it comes to the situation that you're in now with like family and friends and stuff like that, who and I can't speak for them. That's why I said myself first, as in how I would normally approach certain Kemetic people. Now, I'm willing to debate the information all day, but I'm also willing to attack as well, because I feel like we've been attacked. And for future references, as my channel grows, you might gonna see some stuff on with me attacking Kemetic spirituality, not you specifically in what you believe, just in stuff that I've already had lined up way before I met you, people that I've had lined up before I met you. And, a lot of this stuff I've been procrastinating about getting out, but I still want to put it out. But now that I've met you, I just want to give you the heads up that if you hear anything that kind of feel like an attack, I'm not attacking you personally. I'm specifically attacking a certain person or a certain doctrine from a certain person who I'm probably already in beef with or interacting with on the in our community type stuff.
No doubt. And I appreciate that. I appreciate you giving me that respect. And I'm gonna tell you, like, I don't, unless somebody say Piankhi Patamatulu, Nefer Ramon Ra, I don't take stuff personally.
Yeah, I don't either.
It's like,
I'm like that.
You can always, like, I have this thing that I have to constantly preface. Like, I critique Christianity, but you ain't gonna often find me critiquing the black church. Because I love the black church, flat out. Like, I get offended when quote unquote conscious people critique the black church. Depending on, I'm not talking about the Creflo Dollars and the TD Jakes, but I'm talking about your local black church that I know what they do. That offends me, because you know what I'm saying? And so it's like, so I know I'm a different cat. I'm a different type of cat when it comes to this, because like I said, misinformation is the enemy of knowledge. And people, well, if you critiquing Christianity, you critiquing the black church. That's not necessarily the case. I can acknowledge what the black church has done and meant for my people since we were in slavery and since we came out of slavery, while understanding that I don't follow that tradition anymore. It's the same way with the Nation of Islam. I understand what the Nation of Islam has done to create strong, moral black men, while at the same time not believing in that particular doctrine. So
when you were talking about the church, like, a lot of us black people in America who grew up in, I want to say Christian household or church going household, it's funny that it's not more people like you on that side, because when you do talk to people who don't believe in Christianity and they're talking about people getting duped or getting hustled and all that, 9 times out of 10, they are talking about the Creflo Dollars and the TD Jakes, and they act as if they've never been to a local black church. And in in my experiences, I know a lot of pastors. I don't know one pastor that don't got a 9-to-5 job, you know, and trying to run a church. And then some people don't know what it takes to run a church. Some people don't know what it takes to pay bills and meet deadlines. It's kind of like having another house, pretty much. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then on top of that, if you're the pastor or if you're a assistant pastor or if you're a minister like I am, like, we have phone calls throughout the night. We have obligations. We have meetings. We spend more time with other people than we do with our own family. You know, like, we take out of our family mouth sometimes to help other people. And it's like, I don't see why more people who left Christianity aren't like you, even if they don't know the ins and outs of the church like I do. They at least know an uncle, a cousin, a grandpa, somebody who was a pastor that had a church who you know they were genuine about what they were saying, then they wasn't scamming nobody out their money. So that's the reason why I applied you for the way that you think and the information that you put out on the Black church. And people like you are needed in this community to show other people that, hey, you can not even be critiquing the Bible. You can just feel some type of way about the church and the Bible, period. But don't act like you didn't have an experience in it that went against what you're saying as well. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, some people like to throw out their experience for stuff that they heard somebody else say. When you never experienced that, you just heard somebody say that. You know what I'm saying? So,
see, I think you brought up a good point when you talked about people that's church. See, I'm not church hurt. I'll say this. Now, and this, you know, like I say, I keep it a buck. No one in the church, I had one situation years ago where I had a dispute with somebody in the church that could have went left if I was a different type of person, and that person no longer with us. Love them to death, so I'm not gonna speak on that particular situation, but it didn't go left then. So I think the difference between me and other people, it probably in a lot of instances it was somebody in the church that hurt them, whereas the people in the church been nothing but good to me, still good to me and my family, right? Like I said, her uncle, who is the pastor now, he's still working 9 to 5 every day. I've come to him in my time of need, and that need was met. That I'll never forget that. I don't care where I'm at in life. I can't ever forget that. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I didn't need counsel for my marriage, even though he knew, I sat there and told him to his face, I don't believe Jesus is a Messiah or nothing else. He still sat there and counseled me and my wife and told my wife what he thought she needed to do in order for her to maintain her marriage with me. Completely unbiased. And that's his blood niece. Not that I'm his nephew, but that's his niece. You see what I'm saying? So yeah. I know this man has high integrity, above reproach. Like, so I know a lot of people, I bet you he this, I bet you he not. And you can't, ain't nothing you can tell me about dude. So it's just different situations like that they just clear to me. So it's not about having a negative situation with somebody in the church. My situation is I just no longer believed the doctrine. And I know for people who care about me, I know that's difficult to process. It gotta be a certain, and like I told you, I know a lot of people go back to my grandmother. But yeah, it's not nothing personal with nobody. I still got a lot of love for the people there. And anytime I can show them that appreciation, I do. It'd be funny because they'd be like, we know you still love us. I'd be like, of course I still love y'all. What y'all talking about? but yeah, it's, and I give you, you know, I got something coming up at the end of the month. And it's just basically talking about why Black people shouldn't believe in a white Jesus. And I know we in a day and time where most people are moving away from that particular concept, but a lot of people are still holding on to it. And so you know.
I mean, I can say one thing about that. I mean, I'm not gonna say every single black church because I ain't been to every black church, but we teach that now more to white people than we do black people. I haven't been to a black church since 2009 that has a white Jesus. I mean, it ain't no picture of Jesus in all the churches that I go to, but it's sure not a white Jesus. So I feel like the black church, at least the ones I know, or the majority of the ones online and stuff like that, I feel like that concept has already gotten passed. So now we're trying to teach it to white people to let them know that, hey, we're not saying Jesus is black, but hey, that white Jesus y'all got, that's the show ain't him. So they've been kind of pushing that now in our community for like the last probably 2 years now. You know what I'm saying over there. But yeah, no, that's a good video too, man. This the uproar now, so you would kind of be right in the groove of it. You probably wouldn't. I'm not gonna tell you that you're not gonna catch no black people at all, but you will probably catch more white people with that headline than you would black people. Because as I'm saying, the majority of black people who are into this stuff, yeah, they already know. Yeah, that's them long.
And to be fair, it will get into some of the notions about his existence, and I look at it from both sides. His existence versus he did exist, the gospel narratives and stuff like that. Matter of fact, I keep you posted because I might have you on and we can kind of go back and forth on it. I think that might be interesting to have that sort of back and forth where you sort of counter. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, that might be an interesting show. Or after I do the show, have you on to kind of break it down how you see fit. So, you know, we'll go, because even as your channel get back to doing what it's do, I think that'll be a good video for, say, you and Jerome to kind of break down, pause, talk about whatever I said, continue, address whatever you see, you know what I'm saying?
Right. We over there playing with it now, man. We you know, I'm getting everybody used to Zoom and how to share their screen and all that stuff. We're working on the rebuttal to the video that you and Metu did now. So we're getting all that stuff together and playing with it and stuff so everybody can get comfortable with, you know, remember I was asking you questions last time about how to record and how to do this and that on the Zoom. So we over there playing with it now, man. So shoot, you could be expecting some stuff. I ain't gonna get no time limit on it, but you could be expecting some stuff pretty soon because we playing on it. So yeah, once I get back to, you know, uploading content and all that, man, I'm just gonna keep it going. You know, kind of how you keep it going. You know, I don't plan on like dropping stuff every month or every 3 months. It's gonna be consistent. You know, and it's gonna be certain shows and certain topics that come every single week. You know what I'm saying? So we're working on all that type of stuff as well. So you can be looking forward to some of that stuff. But before we get on to it too, I want to ask you another question because I know you've been keeping up with what's going on in the community. So since this is the takeover show, and I'm the one asking the questions, I want to ask you, man, how do you feel about the situation with Damian Richardson and Brother Polite, and how you feel about the debate, man? Not pretty much out here canceled, man. Null and void. It ain't gonna happen. Point blank. Period. It ain't no life in it. Dead. No water. No grass at all. So how you feel about this?
So it is 100% canceled.
Yeah. From what Damian said yesterday, it's 100% no chance.
I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I would have rather have seen the debate happen. So I'm disappointed that it's not gonna happen. I don't necessarily. I don't know if, to be honest, if Polite is scared or if it's a financial issue, because I know the brother can be, let's just keep it a buck. He can be a little greedy. I know that's why he pulled out of the team debate that was supposed to happen when the Jabari Vince Bantu debate. He pulled out of that because of money issues. So, because the reason I don't see him being scared is he didn't even debate it. He debated what was this rabbi? He debated
a rabbi.
Bro.
Yeah, but that was that was the straight clown show right there, though.
Yeah, so I'm like, hey, listen, understand. I really like Damian Richardson. I really like Pastor Bennett. I really like Eric Mason, Jerome Gay. I like them brothers. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like Polite could have held his own. Whether or not he would have won, I have no idea. It just depends on I think that debating Jesus' existence, like whether or not he existed, it's a toss-up. Cause like I ain't trying to be cocky. Like I'll take that debate and just do what you lay out your information and do what you do, Polite. I have no idea why the brother pulled out outside of it being a money issue, because I just can't imagine him being fearful because he done lost debates before. I'll say this: the consensus was that he lost. The consensus is that he lost his first debate to Zoriak.
That's like hood stuff. Like you have certain levels. You have for example, you have like what me and you doing, and then you have like the South Neville, and then you have like the James Whites and the people who are at colleges holding big debates. You see what I'm saying? I feel like he was scared, bro. I feel like it was a money issue, and he was not scared to debate and just stand up there and give information. Polite hang around some top level people, and when you said when it comes to Jesus, it can go either way. It don't go either way. When it comes to scholarly level, which is the type of debate that they was going to have, which a lot of eyes would have been on this debate, it would have ruined Polite's reputation to get out there and make the claim that no other scholar supports, bro. It is undeniable that Jesus existed. Now, what they do argue on is what you said earlier about if he did all the things in the Bible that the Bible said he did when it comes to the Gospels and the miracles and all that. That's the argument that scholars have. They all agree that he existed in the time period he existed. He was killed by Pontius Pilate. All that stuff is built.
Let me interrupt you for a second, because that's not a scholarly consensus.
It is.
It's not. I'm gonna tell you. Now I can pull at least 5 scholars off the top of my head that say the exact opposite. And so my point being, if I can do it,
and the ones that you most likely are going to pull up are going to be ones who are deemed pseudo or are uncredible in that field.
Well, I would disagree. I'm talking about these PhD scholars. So
I know.
My point being, if I can pull them, Polite can pull them. Like, and in this particular arena, they have done actual, credible, peer-reviewed research. Now, I get that it's a disagreement, but he could have did it again. If he lost, he lost. But he could have did it. It's like right now, Richard Carrier, and I know you're familiar with him.
That's what I was going to bring up.
He want to debate Boyd Ehrman. Ehrman won't do it. Now, Ehrman asserts that Jesus was an actual person. What he doesn't assert is that he, like you said, he performed the deeds that he performed. Carrier says there's only a 33% chance that he even existed. Never mind that he was the Son of God, etc.
But Carrier first started out saying he didn't exist at all. Then he switched his number.
No doubt.
But watch it though. But when you check carriers peer-reviewed work from every other PhD person in the field, he get laughed at when he talk about Jesus. Nobody, no scholar takes carriers seriously on first century scholarship when it comes to Jesus. None of them, bro. Him, Walter Williams, all them people, bro, they just laughed out the room, bro. Like, I can show you. I can show you the reviews.
I hear you. I'm on academia.edu. I see the like DM Murdoch.
It's kind of like
all of them get.
If I can tell you real quick, bro, it's kind of like a mathematician. It's kind of like a mathematician being an expert in algebra, but then he come up to everybody and say, well, hey, 1 + 1 not really 2, it's 3. You got to count the 1, the space in the middle, then the other 1. That makes 3. It don't matter if you got a PhD in math and being a mathematician. If you come in there and say something that's wrong, they get laughed out. People like Richard Carrier, and really it's a small number of them, they get laughed out the room when it comes to Jesus, bro. And that's why the numbers are small.
This the thing, though. And like I was listening to David Fitzgerald, and he had a good point. He said something that I didn't trip off of at first. The people who do all this laughing and all this ridicule at these people who challenge the existence of Jesus.
I mean, I don't mean specifically laughing, but.
And again, I'm I told you, I'm agnostic. So it's prove he didn't exist, prove he did. So, for me, it can go either way. My whole thing is, on a personal note, it don't matter if he existed or not. What matters is he came up out of that tomb. But right. What David Fitzgerald was saying is, most, with the exception of Ehrman and a few others, most of these scholars are believers. So it would be counterintuitive for them to believe otherwise anyway. Because when they talk about the evidence, we got evidence of Pilate. He talked about a funerary, or what did he call it? Something that they a bone.
The obituary.
There you go.
Obituary.
And it said, but he pointed out something that I was like, well, I mean, like they got, to me, for people to not take them seriously, as most people say they don't, is odd to me because they actually make good points. So I'm like,
I mean, some stuff they put. Now, I can't lie. In defense, even as a Christian, some stuff they pull up not true, bro. Like for example, they have an ossuary that have Jesus Christ, son of Joseph, and they found 12. They found 12 ossuaries inside a cave, and one of them was James, Jesus' brother. I think I sent that one to you when I was going to do the debate with Mednu. With Kimrod.
Right.
One of them was Jesus' brother James. The other one was like Mary, and the other one was like Jesus Christ, son of Joseph, and all that. Some Christians try to make it like all of them ossuaries was authenticated. That's not true. Only one of them was authenticated, and that was the James one. You know what I'm saying? The dude went to court for it for 7 years. All this stuff that had every scientist, biologist, anthropologist, archaeologist to take 7 years to test this one ossuary. That's the only one that came back authentic. So I will agree that some of the findings over the years that I've heard some Christians cling on to are simply not evidence. Some of them could be like forged and all that stuff. But it's a lot of stuff too that we have that are authentic. And I would also disagree that most of the historians or archaeologists who agree that Jesus existed are believers. That's straight false too. It's a 50-50 playing field. The majority on period believes. Atheists, Buddhists, you got to think about a lot of these people are Germans, bro. A lot of these people are Australians. If you look at these archaeologists and the main historians, a lot of them are not Americans, bro. They're people from other countries. They have different beliefs. A lot of them don't even believe in Jesus, bro.
Yeah, It's
know what I'm saying?
I done heard
and they all
Buddhists
agree.
say that Jesus was one of the reincarnations.
Yeah, one of the most.
Of Buddha.
Right.
It's Christians in Australia. Like this is a world.
I agree. No, I agree.
It's 2 billion people who believe in Christianity.
Yeah, 2.4 billion. 2.4 billion to be exact.
This is my main contention, and I say this all the time. Like when we talk about the evidence, all the evidence that I heard that's supposed to support the existence of Jesus, it's no stronger than the evidence that disputes it. So
what's the evidence that disputes it?
When we say Pontius, they talk about that it was a real Pontius Pilate. Okay, right. The Pilate in the Bible, in the Gospels, is nothing like the real Pilate. Nothing.
What you mean? What you mean?
The real Pilate, he would have crucified Jesus as soon as they brought him to him. He wouldn't have had to hear no reason, no nothing.
Says who?
He says everything he did in real life.
Watch this.
He massacred.
That's just like, watch this. That's just like saying.
Hey, listen to what they did. The Caesar, and I forget which one it was at the time, who was the actual emperor. They removed him for killing too many Jews. Think about that. They removed him for killing too many Jews. And you mean to tell me he would have had a hard time killing one?
Okay, now that's speculation. That doesn't prove nothing. Now,
that's not speculation. That's
I know. That's why I said out of the evidence that we do have for Jesus, there is nothing that disproves it. It's only speculation or it's argued against. Nothing disproves it.
Hold on. And the other point is just the way that the story sort of unfolds. I don't know if you saw that video I put up with Tobias Springer, the rabbi. I was getting ready to take his. Hopefully, I'll be able to pick it back up. He got a Hebrew history, culture, and language class that I was getting ready to take before the COVID-19 stuff started. He a Jewish rabbi, and he break down ancient Jewish laws and the culture. And there was no situation where they would take one prisoner and exchange it for another prisoner. They didn't have that, especially somebody who was an enemy of Rome. And then when you think about it, you're like, yeah, why would Rome do something like that? That's counterintuitive. But so just little points like that, and you like, that don't make dogs.
Let me say now that argument was stronger than the first one that you made. Now, let's go to the first one that you made though. First off, I don't believe that about Pontius Pilate and all that because we don't have a lot of information about Pontius Pilate, first off. Second off, let's say that narrative is true that, he killed all the Jews and what's wrong with him killing one Jew. That's like saying, me for example, my favorite restaurant is my favorite fast food restaurant is Taco Bell. That's just like me saying, somebody saying, well, hey man, one day we passed by Taco Bell and dang man, nobody didn't even want to eat that day. And then everybody be like, well, all the different accounts, man, he loves Taco Bell, he loves it. So that don't disprove nothing. When it comes to the second argument that you made about there was a release day every year in Rome, where they would let a prisoner go every year. I honestly haven't heard no dispute about that, so I would have to look in that. So I would have to look into that. That's why I said that that's a strong argument, in my opinion, because I've never heard that before. So I have to look into that to give you an answer about that. But yeah, when it comes to Pontius Pilate and who he was and his character and all that, we don't even have a lot of information on him, period, for anybody to even say that, he was this way or that way. But like I said, let's just say that is true. That him not killing one or two people, that doesn't disprove the claim at all on that. see what I'm saying? That's just skepticism. But say, bro, I got to get ready to get up out of here, man. I got like 3 minutes before I pull up out of here, man. If you want me to close this show out, you were saying earlier that we don't dialogue about, have a debate or a dialogue or discussion about Jesus and his evidence and stuff like that, or I can rebuttal on my channel, or we can do it live, and I know we'll set it up in the future.
We definitely gonna talk about that because I think now I need to go ahead and do a little more than just black people and white Jesus. I need to go ahead and get into some of these disputes, and so
I mean that's a good topic too, though, man. Cause like I say, that's hot right now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just to do whatever another content, you know, and we always got time to get into our discussion.
Absolutely. So I think we definitely I'll get with you and see, because what I like to do is do my presentation and then have kind of like y'all doing now, you, Jerome, or Gianni, or whoever, kind of go over it on your channel, and we kind of go back and forth, and maybe we get into a debate type of situation, but we'll figure it out and see what's best. But yeah, man, since you took over the show again, go ahead and close out, and we'll figure out if we're gonna do a part 3 or not.
Right. This has been another episode of Paradigm Shift TV314, the Takeover, part 2. And as I said at the beginning, we might be coming back to y'all with a part 3. Me and my brother Piankhi like to kind of go off subject sometime, man. We can talk forever about anything, but next time we're going to try to keep it on topic. We're going to try to stick to these questions and stick to these answers. And we appreciate y'all for tuning in to today's show. This has been the Takeover. And Brother Piankhi, if you will, give your closing on this show, my brother.
As always, I appreciate dialoguing with my brother, Nobody from Trust and Believe the Gospel. And like he said, we did kind of go off script, so we will get back with you with a part 3 if we choose to do so. But that's my brother. We can talk about whatever. And we're going to go ahead and get up out of here, fam. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you enjoyed the dialogue. And we'll be back with another one sooner rather than later. So that's peace. Hotel to you, brother.